You've got ideas, you've got ambition, you've got no time, or so you think. I'm Marissa Lonick, and I help busy moms with big dreams and no time. Join me each week as I dive into time management strategies, goal setting and achieving framework, and inspiring guests who are juggling mom life, work life, fill in the blank life. Dreams don't work unless you do, and just because you're a mom doesn't mean you can't still make it happen, whatever it means to you. Welcome to the Mama Work It podcast. Hey, mamas, we are back with another amazing episode of the Mama Work It podcast. Today, I am so excited to be chatting once again with Michelle Purta. Michelle is a life and marriage coach for moms, wife, and a mom of 3. She helps moms go from feeling frustrated to connected with their husbands by teaching them how to have healthy communication so they can deepen their connection in their marriage. In case you missed it, Michelle was a guest on the show last season, episode 12 to be exact, and she is back today to talk about an incredible new area of work she is now offering to her clients, which is human design. Now, if you're listening and have no idea what human design even is, do not worry. Michelle is going to give us information as basic as that and as deep as how you can take this information and improve the way you're spending your time, showing up in your relationship, running your business, you name it. I cannot wait to chat about this, Michelle. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me back. I love being on here with you.
Good. Okay. Well, first things first, for those listening who may not have listened to episode 12 or may not have heard of you, just give us a quick and dirty backstory on who you are.
Backstory. Okay. So, like you said, I'm a mom of 3. I'm married to my business school bestie, and I became a life and marriage coach because I, like many others, did not grow up with a healthy example of what it looked like, felt like, worked like to have a healthy relationship, right? So my parents didn't have good communication. They didn't prioritize each other. They also didn't really do work on themselves. And therefore, I learned a bunch of unhealthy habits that I brought into all my romantic relationships and probably my other relationships too. And so as a result of that, I often felt unfulfilled in relationships. And so it wasn't until many relationships later did I start to recognize that I was the common denominator, and I really had to do the work on myself in order to create space to have a fulfilling relationship. And since becoming a mom, that has only added more complication to it, right? And that has taught me to really prioritize and be intentional in my life, which you are all about. So I love that. And it is from that journey, that growth, that I was really able to co-create a fulfilling relationship with my husband that I would describe as a conscious relationship. And now I get to have the honor to support other women in shifting conflict with their husbands into open communication and deep connection. And human design came in, right? So when I started my business, I had no idea what it was. I came across it. I don't even remember how. Actually, I have terrible memory. But ever since I discovered, I've been obsessed, right? I studied psychology in college. And so I just naturally have this like thirst for knowledge about why people do the things they do, why we are the way we are. And I love to, kind of dissect why people think the way they think. And so human design really fed that desire within me. So if you don't know what it is, it sounds funny, right? It's like, what the heck is human design? So it is not like the Enneagram, love language, or Myers-Briggs, which is all self-assessed, right? Human design is found through your birth date, your birth time, and your birthplace. So it's very, very specific to you as an individual, right? It's all about where the planets and stars were. And before I lose you, okay, before I lose you, I have not spoken to anyone that this information has not been true for. Okay. So It's not like horoscopes where it's like super general because anyone within that date range, like that fits for, and you might be like, that doesn't fit me, right? This is the exact minute you were born, okay? And so it is a self-awareness and energetic alignment tool that is based on astrology, based on the I Ching, the tree of life, the chakra system, quantum physics. It's a whole bunch of stuff. And basically, it tells you how to live in an aligned life. It tells you how to work with your energy, with your body, with your mind, so that life can be easier for you. Not to say it will be stress-free, but at least then you'll know how to work with your individual self instead of looking outside of you and think, well, how are you dealing with it? Let me try and copy you so that I can maybe have the same life as you. But you're not honoring yourself as an individual. So if I had to sum up what human design is, that would be it.
Yeah. I'm glad that you said that because in all honesty, before I learned about this, and I learned about this through you, I did think it was a personality test, sort of like the DISC or the Enneagram, right? And I wasn't really sure. Like I would see these posts or things pop up in my social media feed and I'd be like, oh, that sounds like me, or that sounds like me. And then I actually ended up getting a reading with you and I'm like, oh, I'm a projector. I'm this. Oh, interesting. Okay. So I like that. And I like that you said it's to the minute you were born and the location right? It's all tied together. Okay. So Michelle, there are 4 main types, I believe, of human design. Can you give us just a high level explanation of each one and what that means?
Yeah. So there are 4 main types, right? I'll start with the most, prevalent, right? Majority of the population, although it is now kind of shifting, right? Majority of the population are either generators or manifesting generators, okay? So that is why our society, the way we do things, like how we are structured, is the way that it is, right? So generators and manifesting generators have what they call like sacral energy. So we are like the energizer bunnies of society. We have a lot of energy. As long as we enjoy what we're doing, we can just keep going. And it's just like, wow, you are tiring to look at. Like what you're doing, you look like you're making me tired just watching you, right? I happen to be a manifesting generator. And so I have a lot of energy as long as I enjoy what I'm doing and I honor my body, right? That's true for everyone. The concept of like working these long hours and doing, this emphasis on productivity is very much generator energy, right? And generators are here to really live joy, live and breathe joy, right? We are here for those who are not emotional authority, and we'll get into that later. Those who have sacral authority are here to really listen to their gut, right? We all have like that intuitive, like, yes, no, but like sacral beings, like, whoa, it's strong. It's a very visceral feeling. It's like, do I want to do this or do I not want to do that? Right? You know, if you really listen to your body, you know. And we are here to really follow, not other people, but follow what's true for us. And when we do that, oh my gosh, the world lights up, right? We're really here to just like embody joy. And the subset, right, the manifesting generator part, not only are we here to really express our magnetism, our joy, but we are also here to show people that things can be done differently. We don't have to follow this like script. We don't have to be put in a box. And we have the gift of showing people that there are faster ways about achieving what we want, right? And so both generators and manifesting generators are very magnetic people. So people like, I'm sure you can think of people who are like bubbly and just like, wow, how do you get all that done? And you don't even look tired. I bet you they're a generator, right? And I bet you know a lot of those people, right? And you, Marissa, are not one of those, right? As you discovered.
And I think it's so funny when you told me that.
Yeah. So Marissa here is a projector, like she said. And being a projector, you probably grew up being criticized for not having the same energy level and being called lazy, right? Maybe you were judged a lot as a child. Maybe your parents were really upset about like, how come you take so many breaks? Or why can't you stay focused for like more than, I don't know, an hour or two? Maybe sitting in a meeting was really awful for you, right? So as a projector, you don't have that consistent source of energy that generators and manifesting generators have. Your gift is not to do, not to say that you can't just not do anything, because that's not how life works, but your gift here is to guide people, to build systems, which, hello, Marissa, you are truly living your gift, right? You're supporting people in, hey, you can be an empowered, joyful mom and get things done without burning yourself out, without sacrificing yourself. And it's all about prioritizing. And I know prioritizing is a huge thing for what you do, right? So as a projector, that's truly you living in alignment and really embodying your gift, right? You are like, you know, like that movie Matilda, where she was in her room, right? That kid witch, right? She had all these things floating in the air. Do you remember that scene? Mm-hmm. Right? She could hold it all and she could see all the pieces. And so for me, projectors are like those who see how all the puzzle pieces fit together, right? You have that oversight. You're like a seer. You're a guide. You are here to show people where they need to go to get to where they want to be. Right?
Yeah.
And it is so, so cool. But because you don't have that consistent sacral energy, what that looks like is you have to really honor your physical capacity, your mental capacity, your emotional capacity. And so that looks like very, very, very different than generators. That looks like maybe you only work 3 hours at a time and you give yourself a break. That looks like being really cognizant of, am I about to go into that burnout stage right now? I need to scale back, because it is in your resting phase where you are rebuilding that momentum to then go, right? If you push through, you're actually going to be slower. You're going to make more mistakes and it's just going to be a hot mess. Plus you will feel resentful. Okay. Now that's a very, very like general description of projectors. And we each have our ways of like our specialties, I should say, right? We all have what we call authority, how you best make decisions, right? Projectors happen to have the most variations out of all the types. So there's that. Manifestors is a different type as well. They also do not have that sacral energy. And so they also need to be very conscious of their energy, where they put their time, and they are such powerful beings, let me tell you. Manifestors here, oh my gosh. So they have a defined throat center, which means that their voice has so much power and impact. So while projectors are here to guide, manifestors are here to make an impact. So if you like, just think about of the people in your life where you're just like, you know, this person, they're living an aligned life. And you're like, wow, like I'm so moved by everything you say. How are you so dang wise? How do you have such an impression on me every single time you open your mouth? Probably a manifester. And it's so cool to be in their presence when they're aligned. So, so cool. So the last one, super, super rare, is a reflector. Okay. So they don't have any of their centers defined, which, by the way, does not mean that they're like nothing. It just means that when you have an open center, so like if you think about the chakra system, right? You've got third eye all the way down to the root. So human design charts very much emulate that, but then there's a couple extra, right? And defined centers mean that you have consistent energy there, right? It's like where you always have like this other than consistent energy, like this like gift and these like things that you can give off. It's just always there. Whereas if you have an undefined center, you are either soaking up someone else's definition around you or you're amplifying it, right? And when you're not aware of this, that's where boundaries can really help you out, right? Because you could be taking in someone's emotions and thinking they're yours. You could be taking someone else's ideas and thinking they're yours, but it's really not going to serve you. But they're so convinced that it's a great idea that you then allow yourself to be convinced, right? And so reflectors, having no centers defined, are deeply influential and impacted by others. So they really need to watch who they're around. They also need to make sure they spend time in their own energy to really be sure of what they want, what they desire, what they don't have space for, or otherwise they're just going to be like kind of like moving as other people like affect them. And it could be very toxic for them, right? But because they're so receptive of other people's gifts and actions and energy, they have the insight to like view the collective and add to that. Like, hey, I'm noticing that this is what's going on. This is what needs to change, right? So it's really, really cool that all of the different types have their own unique gifts and shadows that other types can support and amplify and help them expand. So it's really neat that we're not all the same, because that would really suck if we were.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, for sure. And probably like there would be a lot more arguing out there.
Oh yeah. 1,000%.
A lot more wars. All right. So I'm imagining people listening right now are like, oh, I can relate to that, or, oh, I can relate to that. But hey, you're only one of these things. So how does someone actually find out their human design type?
So there are various websites that you can go to find out your type and your authority and where you're defined and all of that good stuff for free. So my favorite place, if you're just beginning, is to go to My Body Graph. Is it .com? I believe. I haven't used it in a while, but I believe that's it. If you just search in Google, My Body Graph, Human Design, you'll find it. And all you have to enter is your birth date, right? So month, day, year. Or if you're in Europe, then day, month, year. Follow the formatting. And your birth time. So as specific as possible. Now, if you don't know your birth time, which some don't, then you can enter in, noon. So 12 military time. And that should kind of be accurate. You can play around with it and see if it changes as you change the hour. But if you can get specific to the minute, that's ideal. If you can get specific to like, I think it was at nighttime, I'll just say 7 o'clock-ish. Like if it's within an hour, good. As specific as possible will help pinpoint it even further. And of course, your birthplace, because the time zone matters for pulling up all that stuff. And so, yeah, you can go there. You can go to geneticmatrix.com, which is my favorite. It has more, even more information than My Body Graph. But if you're just starting, I don't want you to be like drinking from a fire hose. That would be the best place for you to start.
Awesome. Okay. So now let's dive into like the practicality of this, right?
Yes.
Why is human design such a helpful tool when it comes to all the things like managing your time, communicating with others, growing your business? I want to know.
Yeah. So human design has literally impacted how I do all areas of my life, right? And so it has really helped me to get to know my authority, which is sacral, right? My authority helps me trust in and feel confident about decisions I make. I don't waver anymore because I don't second guess myself, right? It has helped me understand myself better, like why I am the way I am, where previously I would just judge the hell out of myself and be like, why am I so inconsistent about this? Or why am I so rigid about that? Why is this hard for me? And knowing that that's exactly how I was designed was like, oh, why am I judging myself? I should just work with this. This is just how I am. And that's beautiful, right? It has affected how I set my schedule up, right? I have learned that I am an inconsistent person. That doesn't mean unreliable. It means inconsistent in my routine, right? So I have, for the life of me, struggled to follow a daily routine. And so after learning that I'm not built to be that way, I stopped judging myself because, when you start a business, they're like, oh, successful people wake up at 5 a.m. and they do this and this and this by this hour, da 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 da. That has never worked for me, ever. No matter how many different kinds of schedules I've set up for myself and said, I'm going to stick to this, they've all failed. And learning that I am inconsistent by nature has really freed me from that self-judgment. Now I'm just like, these are the priorities I'm going to meet. Doesn't matter what time of day, as long as I get it done, I'm honoring myself. And I'm good with that. I just love to flow with life, right? It has helped me raise my children. Knowing their types, their authorities, their definition, how they work within the family structure. Oh my gosh, Marissa, especially having my oldest be a projector in a house full of some type of generator. No wonder it explains so much and has helped me accept him for who he is and raise him differently, right? That has been the game changer for me. I can't even tell you. And then with how I interact with other people too, right? Knowing about myself, how I am, even without knowing other people's type, just knowing how I am, how I'm meant to raise people up, how I might be bringing in my own baggage, right? And I really feel like it's opened up my life to really beautiful relationships, right? And in my marriage, it's how best do I communicate? How do I best make decisions? How about my husband, right? We happen to be the same, so that's kind of easy. But if we were not the same, human design would be really helpful in understanding how should I support you in making a decision that's most aligned for you? This is how you can support me, right? For me, it's can you ask me differently? Can you ask me a yes or no question? Can you ask me a yes or this or that question? That's what supports me, right? Whereas others, it looks very different. And so business-wise, oh my gosh, so much more trust in myself, right? As soon as I started diving into my chart, I'm like, no wonder this comes easy to me. No wonder this is more challenging for me. Why don't I just leverage what I'm gifted at? What comes easy for me? Let's just do that. Let's just make life easier. I think everyone needs to do that. Make your life easier. Stop making problems where they don't need to be.
Exactly. Oh my God. Yes. Yes. These are such good examples. I mean, I'm a big fan of self-awareness in general. I think the more you know yourself, right, the better communicator you are, the better, everything at life, just you can be better at if you know yourself well. Right? Because you can predict how you're going to react so you can get ahead of that. Or you can predict a situation that you're going to do well in or not do well in. Or you can predict the type of boss that you'll respond best to or not. Right? Yes. All these things help you in those situations. So I'm a huge fan. And I love the fact that this is just within you. Right? Yeah. It's not like work that you have to work at it, change it. No, it's within you and it's helping guide you to live your most fulfilling life.
Yeah, which is the whole point, right? And that's why I use this in my coaching. I mean, I kind of just introduced it selfishly because I'm just obsessed with it, right? But it really resonated with all my clients. And so I just pull up their chart. Most of, I would say majority of the sessions I do, I pull up their chart and I'm like, okay, yeah. And it guides me to ask them questions to reflect back on where they might be giving their power away, where they might be forgetting who they are. Or, maybe it's hitting on some wounds that they're experiencing. And so it's a really nice reminder to be hey, remember how you work like this? Have you been doing that? Oh, no, I forgot, because we compare ourselves so much and we forget to be us.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think having, that self-awareness is such a profound game changer for you. And it has really help to be able to like compare, like, okay, this is your chart. This is your husband's chart. This is why this is happening. What if you shifted it, right? It kind of adds a layer of compassion, which I talk a lot about, right? Because while we may not be able to hold two thoughts at the same time, we can hold differing emotions at the same time. So you can be upset and compassionate for your husband, right? They don't have to compete with each other. And so you can still be valid in how you feel, frustrated, resentful, bitter, whatever, and hold compassion for your husband and think the best of him, right? Maybe assume that you don't know something and he wasn't trying to get you. He wasn't trying to piss you off intentionally. It just happened, right? And so that's been a really fun, new way to, support my clients by not only coaching them, but also utilizing that as a self-awareness tool for them, their kids, their husbands. It's been really fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet it adds just an added tool to your toolkit in managing your relationship and managing your career and parenting and all of it. So I'm so thankful that I learned about this through you and that I was able to get a reading through you. I know you offer these to clients. I think it is such a valuable investment.
Yeah, no, it's really fun. I do individual readings. I can do partnership readings, and that doesn't have to necessarily be you and your partner, but also could be like how you and a child of yours interacts with each other. And it's really fun actually to see children in their human design because they are less, the word that's coming to mind isn't the greatest, but like affected, influenced, damaged, quote unquote damage, right?
No, I get it.
Conditioned. I think that's a better word. They're not as conditioned as us. And so it's like, oh yeah, that's you being you. I totally get that. That makes so much sense. And, it's a great way to support them to continue being themselves and guide them to be more of themselves while guiding them to be a kind human being.
Totally. All right, Michelle. Well, we are going to move on over now to our lightning round where I'm going to ask you some totally random, non-human design related questions just for fun, just so our audience can get to know you a little bit more personally. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you consider yourself an introvert or an extrovert?
I think I'm an introverted extrovert. So at the heart of it, I'm an extrovert, but I definitely have tendencies where I can be both on any given day. So maybe I'm an ambivert, but definitely leaning more towards the extrovert.
Okay, cool. What book are you reading right now?
Right now, I believe it's called, what is it called? It's by the It Cosmetics founder. I don't remember what I think it's called I Believe It or something like that.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. Somebody else recently mentioned this, and the last time this happened, I ended up reading the book because I was like, okay, it's a sign, read the book. And I feel like this is happening again to me now.
There you go. It's a sign.
All right, cool. What is one thing you never leave the house without?
I never leave the house. That list has shrunk since becoming a mom, to be honest. I would say lip balm. I never like to have dry lips.
Yeah. You don't want your lips to be naked.
It's an uncomfortable feeling for me.
What about an app that you can't live without?
An app I can't live without. Gosh, I use so many on any given day. This is not gonna sound great, but I really enjoy Instagram only because I have very strong boundaries, I would say. I only follow those who add value to my life, who uplift me. So anytime I feel like something is depleting my energy, I unfollow them.
Yeah, that's a good rule to follow. I agree. I think that your feed should be full of things that bring you life and not bring you down. So
exactly. Growth and life and joy and fulfillment. Yeah, all of that. That's a criteria for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, Michelle, on that note, why don't you tell our listeners where they can find you and we will wrap this episode up.
Yeah. So my absolute favorite place to hang out is Instagram. So you can find me there at Michelle Purta Coaching. And I'm always on stories, and I make what I think are funny reels most of the time.
They are funny.
I have a lot of fun there. And I share a lot about how you can empower yourself to really change your relationship for the better, to feel like you are very much proud of who you're being in your relationship, being the wife that your husband ultimately deserves, no matter how shitty you think he might be being, but who he ultimately deserves to be in a relationship with, and positively impact who he's being, right? To help him up level by you up leveling. So that's where you can find me. I also have a Facebook community called Marriage and Motherhood, and I would love to see you in there. I share a lot in there as well, and it's a safe space for you to share your experiences, ask for support, and be supported.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here today, Michelle. Always a pleasure. I so appreciate your time and your wisdom, and thanks for teaching us all about human design.
Thank you so much for having me. Bye.
You've been listening to the Mama Work It podcast. I hope you've enjoyed this episode and would love if you could take a quick minute to leave me a review on whichever platform you're listening from, and maybe even send a note to a fellow mama friend recommending it. Reviews and recs help this podcast grow and reach more like-minded, awesome moms. And if you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click that button so we can stay in touch, girl. By the way, if you haven't checked out the Mama Work It website, please do. There are lots of free resources and great articles there that can help you with the juggle of work life, mom life, wife life, fill in the blank life. So head on over. Thanks again for being part of the tribe. I'll see you soon, but in the meantime, keep on working it, mama.